Okay, so there's a lot going on in this file here, and I want to talk over it a little more because otherwise it's really confusing and I really struggle to find a proper way to explain it, but I believe I have something good now. So let's look at it. So we have this object graph, which is a simple example of a dependency injection setup in Kotlin. So object graph here declares a singleton named graph. In Kotlin, the object keyword is used to declare a singleton. A singleton is a class of which only one instance will exist in the application. So that means we cannot create another graph object that we give a different name or whatever. There is only one graph throughout our entire application. So this graph object is being used as a service locator that will provide the dependencies to the rest of the app. So the dependencies wish repository and basically the database. So then we have this late init var database. Here, late init is used to declare a non-nullable property database of type wish database that is promised to be initialized before being accessed. So the late init keyword is useful when an instance needs to be initialized through dependency injection or a setup method that is not a constructor. In our case, we're not using a constructor. It cannot be used with primitive types, but in our case, we are not using a primitive type. We're using a wish database, which is of type, well, room database, which is a class. Okay, so then we have the val repository, well, wish repository by lazy. This lazy keyword is making sure that this is a lazy initialized property that creates an instance of wish repository when it's first accessed. So only when it's first accessed. The lazy delegate, this keyword here, means that the initialization code inside of those curly brackets will only be executed once the first time wish repository is accessed. So once we actually need wish repository, only then this code will be executed. Otherwise, it just won't be initialized. This saves us a lot of resources. So then we have this fun provide. So this is a method to provide the necessary context for initializing the wish database. It takes an Android context object as a parameter. Inside this method, the room database builder is used to create an instance of our wish database. And this instance is then assigned to the database property, this one here that we set up. So here, with this build, this is a part of the Android Room Persistence Library, which is an abstraction layer on top of SQLite. It allows for more robust database access while harnessing the full power of SQLite. So this build method here that we call, this finalizes the configuration and creates the wish database instance. So this graph object here is effectively acting as a simple dependency container where it initializes and provides instances of the database and repository needed by the app. This pattern is handy for managing dependencies in a centralized way, avoiding tight coupling between components and making the code more testable and maintainable. So now this is the explanation for someone who understands all of those keywords that I used. But now let's make it a little simpler. And if you understood everything until this point, you can just go to the next video. Otherwise, watch until the end, because now I'm going to go over a simplified version of what's going on. So imagine you're setting up a lemonade stand, which is your app. Before you can start selling lemonade, you need a few things set up. So late init var database wish database, this is like knowing you need a cash register store and manage your earnings, but you haven't gotten it on your stand yet. You're sure you'll have one, it's just not there right this second. So then val repository by lazy. This is like having a recipe book that only shows up on your stand the first time you decide to make a new batch of lemonade. The recipe book, so this wish repository, magically appears once it does. It stays on your stand, ready for use anytime you need to mix up some more lemonade. Then we have this fun provide. Now this is like telling your lemonade stand where it's located at the street fair or in the neighborhood. This is the context. You're giving it the specific spot so it knows where it should be set up. Then this piece here is like setting up your cash register, so the wish database. The wishlist DB is like the label you put on the register so you know it's for keeping track of all the lemonade wishes or orders from your customers. So in app terms, the graph is like your behind the scenes setup team. It makes sure your lemonade stand, your app, has everything it needs, like a cash register and a recipe book, and if you need anything else, it will take care of that as well. Ready to go whenever you open for business. It's all about preparing what's necessary to run your stand smoothly, so you can focus on making and selling great lemonade, building a fantastic app in our case. So that was a summary of what's going on here. Now we can use this graph in a separate class that we will set up in the next video.